rintracciarla lì.
Alla risata potresti,
Calcolando gli anni trascorsi, no potrei.
sarebbe tempo presto la madre all'inferno spedirla. Qualcuna veduta il buco ma stringente allora signora mi colloca l'altra più spesso in città sull'alba fuggente al carro sapeva
Vieni paura vostero per ponte piave nella zigara per pausa alla fronte mori costui non poco in sembianza della fiera di una occhio l'ho gente guardare che
di coppia con che ti
Nel sonno e certo la regal signora, ma veglia la sua dama. O Leonora, tu desta sei, maldici da quel verone, tremolante un raggio della notturna lampa. L'amorosa fiamma m'arde ogni fibra. Io ti pecca d'uovo che tu m'intenda. Vengo a voi supremo e tal momento. Il Trovatore, io fremo. Io fremo. Gelosia. Non inganno, ella scende. Che fa? parola ognor.
Compagni avanza il giorno, a procacciarci un pan, su scendiamo per le propinque ville. Andiamo!
Quella storia funesta
e tu l'ignori tu pur, ma giovinetto i passi tuoi d'ambizioso sprone non ti traeva e lava il fine acerbo questa storia. Ma in quel posterbo conte di malefizio onde asserio molto un bambin suo figlio bruciata renne arde quel fuoco
oi sciagurata
negarlo.
A me, se vivi ancora, il dei, notturna nei pugnati campi di Pelillo, ove spenta fama ti disse, a darti sepoltura, mamma sì. La fuggente ora vital non vi scovrì, del seno non t'arrestò materno affetto.
Mille già sbagliati all'amico volgendo ancor la faccia il rire l'una su me piambò col suo drappello io catti però da sorte io catti
come le cede i giorni che l'infame amore perdone e salvi da te quanto ciecola strana pietà per
oh madre non saprei dirlo me stesso
strana pietà
mal reggendo all'aspro assalto e già tocco il suolo arenava il colpo in alto che trafiggello dov'era quando arresta muto arcano nel discender questa mano le mie fibre a coto della fa rapente a mentre un grido pienda il cielo mentre un grido pienda il cielo che mi dice non ferire
l'alma dell'ingrato non parlo del cielo parlo del cielo un detto ma se ancor ti spinge il fato a pugnar come pugnar quel maledetto compio figlio cuido un dio compio allora dicendo mio sino all'elsa questa no i miei murmuri miei medimempio in cor se lo giuro questa
stato messo lui in via, forse
inoltre al pie guerresco evento chi mi seguia risponde il foglio che reco a te.
in nostra posse castellor ne dei tu per cenno del prence vigillar le difese, ove ti è dato affrettati a venire. Giunta la sera tratta in inganno di tua morte al grido, nel vice inchiostro della croce il bel signore Leonora giusta io. Se scendi la balza per cavallo e properi corro mi tempo pensa ora m'aspetta nel colle e piedi aspetti voi guarda un bascio perdi quell'agne addio e cammin se lo caderno e farete riaprite il petto infermo. Non soffrire non è possivo, il tuo sangue è sangue mio. Ogni sera che ne versi, tu la spremi dal mio cor, tu la spremi dal mio cor, tu la spremi dal mio cor. Sembrava a miei desiri
No bello e più possente la mi appresta l'altare. Ah no, non fiatri l'erora, il suo sorriso d'una stella vince il raggio, il fulgor del suo bel viso. il sole d'un suo sguardo, la tempesta. La tempesta del mio cor. Qual suono? O ciel! La stella vicina ritornuzza e giunga la terra, si rapisca. Ododo, taci! Ododo, andate! Di quel faccio all'ombra giratevi. A fra poco via vi verrà. Tutto mi veste un poco.
Manrico and Leonora escape from the Count di Luna and his soldiers, infuriating de Luna, who wants Leonora for his own. We've heard Acts 1 and 2 of Verdi's Il Trovatore live from the Met, starring Jennifer Rowley, Anita Rachvelishvili, Yong-Hoon Lee, and Quinn Kelsey, conducted by Marco Armiliato.
You know, Mary Jo, some masterpieces, even Verdi masterpieces, take a while to catch on with the public, but when you hear these arias, duets, ensembles in succession, it's easy to understand why Trovatore was an instant, enormous hit.
Yeah, they had to choose when they went out at intermission which tune they were going to hum, didn't they? Because there were so many choices.
Exactly, and which tune they'd beg for an encore.
Right. Well, it's intermission time. I'm Mary Jo Heath, and Iris Siff is here with me. In just a few minutes, we're going to go backstage and chat with our 4 stars, and we're going to hear from tenor Klaus Florian Vogt, who will be singing the title role in Wagner's Parsifal. And after intermission, the final 2 acts of Il Trovatore. Don't go away.
And we'll rejoin New York in a couple of minutes after the Met have an advertising break. Acts 3 and 4 of Il Trovatore will start again at around 8:15.
Let BBC Music start your summer with a weekend like no other.
For the first time, we're bringing the sound of summer to England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. With Ed Sheeran performing in Swansea, Courtney Barnett in Belfast. And Radio 3 will be taking Nigel Kennedy to Perth and Coventry, where he'll be joined by Eliza Carthy.
Listen to Breakfast on Wednesday when we'll reveal more of this spectacular lineup.
4 nations, 4 locations, one amazing weekend of music. BBC Music presents the biggest weekend, beginning on Friday, the 25th of May.
For the love of music.
Good evening, I'm Chris Barrow and this is BBC Radio 3. We'll return to the Met in a few moments, but in the meantime, just a reminder that you can have a browse through the opera on 3 pages of the Radio 3 website. The schedule of the next few upcoming Met broadcasts is there, along with details of all of Radio 3's live and recorded broadcasts from British opera houses. There are lots of details about each opera, including production photos, full synopses and casting information. Don't forget that we also broadcast an opera each Thursday afternoon at 2 o'clock, and this coming Thursday is a rare chance to hear Vivaldi's Teuzzone in a performance from Barcelona's Gran Teatre del Liceo, directed by Jordi Savall. Georgia Mann will introduce the opera this Thursday afternoon. Now we return to the Met to remember someone who's sadly no longer with us.
We at the Met are mourning the loss of a beloved member of the artistic team, Robert Rattray, who passed away on Tuesday. As an assistant general manager, he oversaw the planning, scheduling, and casting of more than 200 performances each season involving thousands of artists. When he came to the Met in 2014, he had spent over 40 years in artist management in London. He sat down for a chat and told us about the main thing he'd learned.
The respect you need for these extraordinary people who put their hearts and souls on the line every night on the stage of these opera houses. In England, we say, I'm a poacher who's turning gamekeeper, so I know all the tricks. And I do know what makes singers tick and how best to pull the excellence out of them. If we're not on the side of the artist, then there is no opera. They need to know that I and the team at the Met know that they can do it, believe in them, and want them to give their best, because their best is unbeatable. I actually stood on the Met stage the other night and looked out into that fabulous auditorium and did say to myself, if I had to walk out in front of 4,000 people and open my mouth and sing, I think I would faint. What happens on this stage during the season, 7 performances a week of 4 different operas, it's a sort of minor miracle. No other house in the world does it. I'm a very small cog in a vast wheel with a big responsibility, and it is terribly exciting.
Robert Rattray, who brought a great love of opera to his work for more than 4 decades, including here at the Met from 2014 until his passing earlier in the week. We're live at the Met with Verdi's Il Trovatore. Well, let's go backstage now where our producer, John Bischoff, is talking with our Leonora and Manrico.
Thanks, Mary Jo. Yes, I'm happy to be here with Jennifer Rowley and Young-hoon Lee. Thank you for spending some time with us.
Thank you for having us.
So the ensemble that ended Act Two is just so thrilling, and so much is going on with Manrico confronting the Count, escaping with Leonora.
It's so
much
beautiful,
music.
isn't it?
What do you focus on in the middle of all of that?
You know, honestly, I focus on the fact that when we last saw Leonora, she thought he had gone off to fight the Count. She thinks he's dead. And so when he appears on stage, it's this moment of incredible shock. And then it's just complete happiness and joy that she's found him again. So I try to focus on that arc for her.
You're in touch with the character
Yeah,
throughout.
absolutely, absolutely.
And for me, it's I try my best that I show him and make sure that I'm a winner of love. Because I mean, how much we love each other in front of him.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
your moment of victory.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's I try my best. Yeah.
Well, Jennifer, you sang Leonora's opening aria so beautifully.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm wondering, how does it feel to be singing this, your first big Verdi role at the Met?
It's crazy. I'm in complete disbelief every day, and I'm so grateful and I'm so thankful, and the support has been amazing, and I know you, Young-hoon, you probably see this too. It's so crazy to look in the back of your costume and see the names of the people who have worn the costumes before you and know that you're part of history. I mean, today's the 651st performance of Trovatore. I mean, to be a part of that history is just absolutely incredible to me and mind-blowing, and I'm so grateful. I'm speechless.
You're doing great.
Yeah.
Thanks, baby. Thank you.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Young-hoon.
Yes.
Manrico has very intense relationships with Leonora,
Yeah.
Azucena, and the Count.
Yeah.
How do each of these bring out different sides of his character?
Well, I think that intense and complicated relationship makes Trovatore much more interesting. Because, many people think about Trovatore just only because of the title, Trovatore, but at the same time, I'm a child of mom, and then we love each other, and also it's such a warrior, so I can show every each of scenes that I'm, every different things.
Yes.
This is very interesting. I
Yes.
think. Yeah.
A full character.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to see if we can just check with each of you about big pieces coming up. In the fourth act, Leonora has this huge scena with aria chorus.
The best.
How do you prepare for that?
You really have to focus. I mean, when I go out on stage for Act 3, that's it. I don't go back to my dressing room before then. It's into Act 3, and Young-hoon has his gorgeous aria. Oh my gosh, wait till you hear it. And then we go to a quick change, and then it's to the scene. So you really have to focus on what does Leonora want in the scene, what is her goal, and getting to that goal. That's how I focus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. And yes, we're looking forward to Di Quella Pira coming up as well.
All right.
It's so gorgeous. Oh
Let's
my gosh.
see.
It's amazing.
Thank you both for
Thank
joining us.
you so much for having us.
And Mary Jo, I'm going to go look for our next two guests, but back to you in the radio booth for now.
Thanks, John. That was the Manrico Leonora fan club of each other. It sounded like Ira. Yeah.
Leonora is such an interesting character. When I was a kid growing up, I always thought of her as a lady of the court, wearing the dunce cap and the veil and singing a lot of beautiful and demanding music. But she's a wild girl who runs around the mountains with this rebel in the middle of a civil war. It's a gutsy character, and to watch her evolution during the opera, I find really, really interesting as she sort of makes one personal sacrifice after another.
Yeah, really. We're listening to Il Trovatore by Giuseppe Verdi with a libretto by Salvatore Camerano and Leone Emanuele Bardare based on a play El Trovador by Antonio Garcia Gutierrez. The production is by David McVicker, sets are by Charles Edwards, the costumes by Brigitte Reifenstuhl, the lighting is by Jennifer Tipton, and the choreography by Leah Hausman. The revival stage director is Daniel Ragazzi. The production of Il Trovatore is a gift of the Annenberg Foundation. Il Trovatore is a co-production of the Metropolitan Opera, Lyric Opera of Chicago, and the San Francisco Opera Association. The chorus master is Donald Palumbo. Musical preparation is by Derek Inouye, Howard Watkins, Joshua Green, and Brian Waghorn. The assistant stage director is Jay Knighton-Smith. The Italian coach is Hemdi Kafir, and the prompter is Joshua Green. The fight director is Thomas Schall, and the stage manager is Raymond Menard. Well, let's go backstage again because I think John Bischoff is all ready to talk with Anita Rachvelishvili and Quinn Kelsey.
Yes, Mary Jo, I am. I'm with Azucena and the Count, who've put aside their feud temporarily to sit down in the same dressing room. Thank you both.
Yeah.
Welcome. Il Trovatore is often described as a bel canto opera that's been taken to romantic and dramatic limits.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, how do you hear that in Verdi's music, especially for your two characters? Maybe Anita?
Okay, yeah. You know, that's a very difficult opera, vocally and technically speaking. We have a lot of stuff to manage and to do, but the great thing about bel canto generally, that it's made for voice. And it's made to make you sing better and make you understand better the technique of the vocal singing. And Verdi makes that easy in every single opera that you sing. I think you agree, Quinn, right?
Very, very much so. I believe that bel canto for us is the foundation of our singing. And Verdi understood this tremendously and wrote this into all of our music. And so we have so many opportunities, the two of us, to actually quote unquote sing pretty music instead of just banging on the voice all the time. There are moments that we are allowed to actually make it, to have these opportunities to sing beautifully.
Yes, and it is. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
Anita,
Yes.
Azucena's story is so extreme.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Her mother burned at the stake, killed her own child by mistake.
Yes.
How do you make her a believable character?
Oh, that's not easy for sure, because to put yourself in the position of somebody like her, somebody like Azucena, it's not really easy because she's completely crazy. Of course, nobody can be healthy after that story. So it's very difficult to be in her situation, to feel her pain all the time, because she's in pain all the time. So my cue was to try to feel that pain, to try to be in that situation all the time, and to be part of her life, understand her relationship with her son, which is very important because that's the reason she's suffering all the time. Her reason of her pain is right there with her all the time, every single second. So it's very difficult.
Yes. You were both just referring to the beautiful music that you get to sing. And Quinn, you just had a gorgeous love aria. But the Count is a bad guy. So are you trying to make us feel sympathy for him?
Well, I think he in a way, he does have, he is a sympathetic character. Yes, he does come off as the bad guy, and his function in this story is as such, and it's important. But I think it just gives him another color to the character, that he has humanity, that he has feeling. It's just that he's kind of a brat, and so, on the other side of things, he wants his way all the time, and so, he puts himself in that position.
Well, we're looking forward to the rest of the opera and your next act and your big confrontation. Thank you so much for joining us, Anita and Quinn.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I'm John Bischoff, backstage live at the Met, and now back to you, Mary Jo, in the radio booth.
Thank you, John.
It's interesting. We were talking about Leonore and the difference between Leonore and Azucena. We were chatting about that. Azucena's complexity is kind of right there on the surface through the whole opera, and it manifests itself so brilliantly in her music, which is kind of, for Verdi, a leap forward, a step forward from the bel canto era. He's incorporated her into it brilliantly, but she's almost in her own zone.
Yeah, it's this stream of consciousness sort of aria that she sings one after the other. And everybody's shocked at the end at her story. Every single time, right? On Monday, something singular will arrive on our stage. Parsifal, Wagner's final masterpiece. Ira, it's going to mesmerize audiences.
And this opera is like a balm for our souls, with its story about healing and renewal, gaining wisdom through compassion. It may be based on medieval legends with knights and Holy Grail and all of that, but it is timeless.
Yeah, it really is. It will be led by our music director designate, Yannick Nézet-Séguin. He is so passionate about this work, and he loves our haunting production by François Girard. And we have a distinguished cast of Wagnerians, Klaus Florian Vogt, Evelyn Herlitzius, Peter Mattei, Renee Papa. I got a chance to talk with Klaus Florian Vogt, who's singing the title role just a couple days ago.
You know, Wagner wrote Parsifal to consecrate the stage of the Bayreuth Festival in 1882, and Vogt has sung the role there. I can't imagine what that must feel
no
like.
Kidding. He has sung a lot of the big Wagner tenor roles, so I asked him what sets Parsifal apart.
The whole music is very calm, and it gets sometimes out of the time. And you have to remember when you're doing it, for my feeling, you can nearly never be too late. It's a lot of waiting also in the mind, for my opinion. Yeah. You have to wait, and you have to be very, very awake, but you have to be very calm and relaxed in a way to get the right point to start. You have to take your time that you can show this slow flowing music.
How about the character?
The character is special because he shows up as a really pure human being, and he gets a really big journey until the end. If you compare the Parsifal from the first act and the really end of the third act, there are two different characters. And it's a challenge to get these different colors of one person. I think when he comes as a young man, he has not very much experience in the world. It has to be a very innocent man and kind of simple. And I think you have to show that also vocally. If you can do that, the journey until the end, there can be a very big difference to the very end. Then he is a really kind of hero, and I try to show this also vocally. And if you are a hero from the beginning, you can't show any difference. And for that you need also a piano, and you need a soft approach to the voice.
So this sounds like a big challenge from an acting point of view. Do you listen and get cues from the orchestra for this?
Of course. There are many points of music where you can get your reaction. It's in the whole piece, and I think, from my opinion, whatever you do, the music is telling you what to do. And this is really fascinating to me. The music and the score speaks to you and shows you all the things that you have to do.
I know as a former horn player, you're very tuned into what's happening there. Have you played this? Did you play this when you were a horn player?
Yeah. From my point today, from stage, I know the French horn part very well. And so, of course, my ears are often in the orchestra. Also playing this stuff in the orchestra as a French horn player was, I enjoyed that very much, because this music gets you also in the pit, of course. The French horn is often used for the phrases of my character. So when I'm appearing this and telling my story of my mother and where I came from, and it's always this, what is it? Hunting, this hunting music. Bum, ba, bum, ba, 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 bee. This is Parsifal.
Right. What's it been like working with Yannick Nézet-Séguin on this?
Oh, this is a big pleasure. He's such a great musician, and he gets so well in this music, in this mood of this music, that it's really a pleasure. And for my feeling, we are nearly the same approach to this music, or this kind of music, and that makes it really easy.
That was tenor Klaus Florian Vogt. He will be singing the title role in Wagner's Parsifal, which opens here at the Met on Monday evening. Ira, the final dress was yesterday. We were both there.
I was blown away by the piece, by the production, of course, the conducting. This cast is incredible. Across the board, it's fantastic.
I'm so excited we get to share it with our Saturday radio audience. Parsifal will be our broadcast 2 weeks from today on February the 17th.
And we'll be back with Mary Jo Heath in a few moments while they have an advertising break. As you may have picked up from previous seasons, there's sometimes a Met quiz in the programme featuring questions supplied by listeners from all over the world. Now, there isn't one today, but it's worth submitting a question for a future broadcast because if yours is chosen, you'll earn yourself a gift package of opera recordings and publications. The address to write to is Metropolitan Quiz, Metropolitan Opera, 30 Lincoln Center Plaza, New York 10023 in the United States of America. And you can mention that you were listening to Radio 3. You can also submit questions online at the Radio 3 website, and while you're there, you can have a look at the Opera on 3 pages, which has the schedule of the upcoming Met broadcasts there as well. And now it's time to return to the Met in New York.
Here's a preview of next Saturday's matinee broadcast, live from the stage of the Metropolitan Opera. A great cast finds the secret to Donizetti's magical elixir of love, l'Elisir d'amore. Matthew Polenzani is the country boy Nemorino, on the brink of discovering true love. Pretty is the beautiful Adina, who seems to have it all, but what does she really want? Davide Luciano is the cocky Sergeant Belcore, who's convinced he is what every woman wants. And Ildebrando D'Arcangelo is the amazing Dr. Dulcamara, a purveyor of any formula you need.
Avanti, avanti, vedove, avanti, avanti, bamboli, comprate il mio specifico, per pochi o meno no, sì, sì, per pochi o meno no, sì, sì, per pochi o meno no, sì, sì, per pochi o meno no.
Maestro Domingo Hindoyan conducts the Met Chorus and Orchestra in this bubbling score, one of opera's most beloved. L'Elisir d'amore, next Saturday's broadcast, live from the Met. So we'll be going back about 20 years from Il Trovatore for next week's broadcast, L'Elisir d'amore being from 1832.
And it was a kind of second big hit for Donizetti after he put himself on the map with the tragedy Anna Bolena.
Yeah, he was one of a handful of composers who mastered both tragedy and comedy. We'll be hearing his Lucia di Lammermoor later in the broadcast season.
You know, I'm always struck by how evergreen the story of Elisir d'amore is. I mean, we all know people like these characters and we can identify with their situations.
Yeah, well, the story is funny, but not wacky. Even the love potion's not really a love potion. It's just some plain old wine.
Right. The humor is rooted really in the psychology of the characters.
L'Elisir d'amore will be our broadcast next Saturday. We are live at the Met with Verdi's Il Trovatore. I'm Mary Jo Heath with commentator Ira Siff, and we're coming up on the second half of the opera. So Ira, let's talk through these last two acts. As Act 3 begins, the Count di Luna and his army are preparing to storm the castle held by Manrico and his men. But Azucena has been discovered lurking near the camp. She's dragged in, and they interrogate her.
And the tension is palpable as we feel them getting closer and closer to the truth.
Yes, the Captain Ferrando recognizes her as the gypsy woman who abducted the Count's brother all those years ago. She cries out for her son Manrico to rescue her. Hearing this, Di Luna is overjoyed. He will have his enemy and rival in his power.
But Azucena just tears into the Count. She warns him. She says that God protects the helpless and will punish him.
That's a thrilling ensemble. In the next scene, Manrico and his soldiers know they will soon be under attack. But he and Leonora are about to be married, and he has an extraordinary double aria here.
Well, his two worlds just collide. His love for Leonora inspires the elegant phrases of the aria, Asi ben mio, and his love for Azucena drives the cabaletta di quella pira.
Yes, he learns that Azucena has been captured and rallies his men to rush to rescue her.
The music builds in excitement as Manrico's men join him in this famously rousing call to arms.
But by the opera's fourth and final act, Manrico has lost the battle. Leonora arrives outside the prison where he's being held, and Ira, it's almost like a triple aria she has here. She was mentioning during her interview how she prepares for that. It's an extended scena, beginning with D'amor sull'ali rosé, as she begs her sighs to fly up to Manrico on wings of love.
Her ravishing vocal line seems to transport her love to Manrico on long soaring phrases, shimmering trills, floating high notes.
But as the aria fades away, we hear the voices of monks intoning a miserere, a prayer for the prisoner's soul.
The orchestra intrudes with an insistent, throbbing death march. Over this are jagged outbursts from Leonora expressing her horror.
While Manrico, unaware that she can hear him, sings a farewell serenade from his cell, begging her not to forget him.
And Leonora responds with a passionate cabaletta. She swears she will either give up her life to save his or die with him.
And when Di Luna appears, she confronts him. This is a hair-raising duet as Leonora throws herself at his mercy, begging him to save Manrico, which only inflames the Count's jealousy more.
As we'll hear her sweeping lines in contrast to his blunt, unyielding phrases.
In desperation, she makes a bargain with him. If he will free Manrico, she will be his. But while he's giving the order for Manrico's release, Leonora secretly takes poison. She plans to die before the Count can claim her.
Leonora's frenetic coloratura expresses her joy at saving her lover, while the Count's music turns rapturous at the prospect of having her.
And the opera's final scene takes place in the prison. Manrico comforts Azucena, who's unable to sleep. She's overwhelmed by past and present horrors.
When the orchestra reprises the tune describing the burning of her mother, it's as if her mind is obsessively replaying this event. She becomes wildly agitated. But Manrico finally calms her down, and they imagine themselves returning to their peaceful life in the mountains. This is a gentle duet with a rhythm like a lullaby.
And Azucena drifts off to sleep. Then Leonora arrives. She tells Manrico he's been freed and urges him to escape. But he quickly guesses at the bargain she made and curses her for agreeing to give herself to the Count. Only when Leonora grows weak from the poison does Manrico understand the sacrifice she made.
Her vocal line seems to struggle to rise before falling suddenly as she tells him, rather than live as another's, I wanted to die yours.
But Di Luna arrives in time to witness her dying. Beside himself with rage, he has Manrico dragged off to be executed immediately. Azucena, waking, tries to stop him. But once Manrico is dead, she finally reveals the truth to the Count.
In a state of crazed exultation, she tells him he was your brother. Then she cries out, "O mother, you are avenged."
And Di Luna has the final, anguished line of the opera, "And I still alive." Wow, just like that. This is another one of those operas that just boom, boom, boom.
Verdi wraps it up.
He sure does. He sure does. Well, Il Trovatore premiered in Rome in January of 1853,
Yes,
didn't
it
it?
was 2 years after Rigoletto, but only 2 months before La Traviata.
So it really was a fertile period where all sorts of stories were coming to him and things were going around in his imagination of how to propel drama and music forward together in a
different
new way.
ways.
Right.
Yep.
Well, here in order of vocal appearance, Stefan Kotzon as Ferrando, Quinn Kelsey as the Count Di Luna, and Anita Rochvelishvili as Azucena. Jennifer Rowley as Leonora, Yong-Hoon Lee as Manrico, and Eduardo Valdez as Ruiz. Marco Armiliato will be conducting the Metropolitan Opera Orchestra and Chorus. This first scene will take place back at the fortress And during the soldiers' chorus, you'll hear that the Count's men are cavorting with some women. You'll hear those kind of noises coming out of the crowd.
Camp followers, as
Camp
it were.
followers. That's a very diplomatic way to put it. Here comes Maestro Marco Armiliato asking the orchestra to rise. He's giving him a little round of applause himself and shaking hands with Benjamin Bowman. Let's hear Acts 3 and 4 of Verdi's Il Trovatore.
braccio al mio rival. Questo pensiero, come persecutor demone, ovunque m'insegue. In braccio al mio rival, ma corro, surda bene l'aurora, io corro a separarvi.
E fu, quando il sargento s'attirava una zingara, sorpresa dai nostri esploratori, si volse in fuga e si tenendo una spina trista, li seguì.
Fu raggiunta
e presa,
vista l'hai tu,
oh, della scorta il condottier m'ha prese il vento. E la sera, dinanzi,
s'appressi, come rispondi, e trema dal mentir.
chiedi,
Dove vai?
non so,
Che?
una zingara e costume, over senza disegno, il passo vagabondo, ed il suo tetto il ciel, sua patria il mondo.
E vieni,
Biscaglia, ove finora le sterili montagne mi ricetta.
da Biscaglia,
Intesi, oh, qual sospetto. Giorni poveri via, pur contenta del mio stato, sola speme un figlio mi lasciò, m'obblia l'ingrato, e a deserto vado errando, e quel figlio ricercando, e quel figlio che il mio cuore nelle orribili costò. Il suo volto
resti lunga etade fra quei monti,
lunga, sì,
rammenteresti un fanciul prole di conti, involato sul castello, son tre lustri e tratto quivi,
parlo, sì,
la bella della vita. Sì. Ne udini mai novella?
io no, concedi che del figlio
E se dico,
come
di chi il pane orribile dragone finisci
taci,
ed esso che il mio forte petto solo si esprime in sé amor traverso viene la vendetta fra tu prometti dissimularlo fora alla novella aurora saliti saremo ma de nostri nemici avremmo paura poi abbiamo allora ardir brando e coraggio tu va le vecchie apre nell'assenza mia breve a te commetto che nulla manchi di quel tetro luce nostro risplende il prevago funesto Desperdia coro il posso amor sublime amore intero istante ti fa venire al Stint
barbari, a cessa già la pira. A te mi lembra sempre, io potrei cilia. A te, ed ecco, sappilo, io so, gloria spettacolo, quasi le respiri in modo, raduna i nostri affrettati goezi. In quella villa l'orrendo fuoco, tutte le fibre mal si affanno, empi spegneterà odio fra poco, e sangue il nostro e la spegnerò, era già figlio prima d'ammarti, e l'altro fregarmi il tuo marti. Madre infelice, corro a salvarti. Corro l'amore, a te quel vento l'amore, a te quel vento. O te con gemone prigionieri all'infelice ivi fu tratto.
Udiste, come albeggi la storia e il figlio, e dalla madre il abuso forse quel poter che pieno in me trasmise il prence, tal mi traggi, donna per me fodesta, o vellai mai, ripreso castell'ordine contezza non ebbi, e furo indarno tante ricerche tante, ed avessi crudele. Come, donna, a che venisti?
E io già presto allora staremo, e tu lo credi?
Lo fare potresti?
Ma si venia sopra te, che danno.
Che tu deliri?
Che fa?
Tu deliri?
Che fa?
Io del riva al sentir pietà. Io del riva al sentir pietà. E sol vendetta mio nome, vendetta il sol mio nome, vendetta il sol mio nome. Va.
Io, piacerne lagrime, spargo al tuo piede un rio. Non basta il pianto, sfida, che sangue mio. Svedami, ti vedi sangue mio. Questa è mia calamità, non sei trovatore.
Devi rendere, vorrei peggio la sorte, fra miliardi spasimi, duplicar sua morte. La mia è più terribile, diventa il mio flor, la mia è più terribile, diventa il mio flor.
Questo è mio canone, non sei trovatore.
La mia è più terribile,
Conte,
Ne basti,
grazie.
e tornavi al cono a tenerlo. Scostati!
Uno, solo uno. Ed io ne offro
Spiegati quel prezzo di...
me stessa.
Cioè, tu dicesti?
E come soffrore me ho promessa.
Sogno mio!
Mi schiude la via fra me e loro, e che ora che la vittima fuggo e son ma fredda esanime spoglia.
Colui
vivrà di giù di bu e di a me signore, ma copre quel tempo
che par mi volgi detto ancora, o mi parrà delirio quando ascoltai mia, mi metti di doppia cancella, o che io lo credo appena, udendolo da te, o che io lo credo appena, udendolo da te.
a te e tu no, i denti a me signore, o te
Oh,
Se voce di figlio danna quel fioco lume. Come a salvarmi fievero. Addio, da quella doggio, da fretta, porte. E tu non vieni. Storte, Geo. Restate. Fuggi. Come sarò? Io. La tua vita. Io la spezzo. Io. La tua vita. Io la spezzo. Dio donna in me sguardi, a chi la vesti? Ed a qual prezzo? Parlar non vuoi. Parente la veglia, col mio rifare, intendo. Questa infame venuta, quando in giusto, ti sposta
e non respingermi vedi l'unguente oppresso e un lango
ti abbomino di maledico
Caught up in romantic jealousy, political turmoil, and an old family vendetta, the Count di Luna has unknowingly killed his own blood brother. That was the conclusion of Giuseppe Verdi's Il Trovatore in this live broadcast from the stage of the Metropolitan Opera here in New York. And now the show curtain of those anguished faces of a Goya painting kind of even resonate more than they did before the show started, don't they? And the curtain is back up on this gypsy's den, the area right outside the castle walls. Here are David Lowe, our messenger, and Edward Albert, our old gypsy, taking the bow together. And next up is Eduardo Valdez, our Ruiz, tenor from Puerto Rico. He will be Pong coming up in Turandot later in the spring, a veteran of more than 600 performances here at the Met. And here is Sarah Mesko, mezzo-soprano from Hot Springs, Arkansas. This is her debut season. She was second lady in both Die Zauberflöte and the English language version, the Magic Flute, earlier in the season. And here's Stefan Kocan, Ferrando. Slovakian bass. We heard him last season as Bremen in Onegin. He sung over 100 performances, and we remember most his Spada Fucile in our Las Vegas Rigoletto. Here comes Quinn Kelsey, our Count de Luna. Baritone comes from Honolulu, Hawaii. He was the father, Peter and Hansel and Gretel, in December for us. He'll be Enrico and Lucia di Lammermoor later in the spring. This is his 6th Met role. He's the 2015 winner of the Beverly Sills Award, given to an outstanding young American singer. And here's Anita Rachvalishvili, Azucena, mezzo from the Republic of Georgia. This is her 3rd Met broadcast on Saturday afternoon for us. We've heard her as Carmen and also in Prince Igor. And she's going to be singing Mussorgsky, the Songs and Dances of Death, with the Met Orchestra at Carnegie Hall in May with us. Big blowing kisses to her fellow cast members. Here comes Jennifer Rowley, our Leonora, soprano from Cleveland. She made her Met debut as Musetta in 2014. We heard her last spring on a Saturday broadcast of Cyrano de Bergerac. This is her 2nd Saturday broadcast then, and she was our opera quiz guest.
Oh, yes,
just last weekend. Yeah. And here, Yonghoon Lee Monrico from Seoul, South Korea. His 4th Saturday broadcast. We've heard him as Ismaele in Nabucco, Don Jose, Turidu. He made his Met debut in 2010 in the title role of Don Carlo. And now he's the title role of the Troubadour, Il Trovatore. And now our cast is bowing all together. And Miss Rowley is going to go fetch our maestro. Here comes Marco Armiliato. He's led over 400 performances at the Met. Wow. And he's been here every year since his debut in 1998. And still to come at the Met this spring on Saturdays, we will hear him lead La Boheme, Madama Butterfly, and Turandot. So Marco's having his own little Puccini fest.
I've looked at some of his schedules during the week and marveled at what he can do. Yeah.
Amazing. The music producer for this Metropolitan Opera broadcast is J. David Saxon. The operations director is John Kurzweil. Ed Hartley and Robert Hewitt are the broadcast engineers. Our senior radio producer and editor is Ellen Keel. The show producer is John Bischoff. The producer is William Berger. And the associate producer is Lee Ellen Vem, as our cast takes one more big bow together. We had production assistance from Yolanda Williams, Michael Griebel, and Geza Kudlak. The broadcast stage manager is Lori Squire. The executive producers are Mia Bongiovanni and Elena Park. And the curtain's going down, and the cast is all waving at everybody. The Metropolitan Opera music director designate is Yannick Nazay-Seguin, and the general manager is Peter Gell.